It's time for Wrestling Reality, where you can go
one-on-one with the Great One.
Well, actually, it's Justin LaBar. Wrestling Reality, one-on-one with Justin LaBar, here on TribLIVE Radio.
We're back on Wrestling Reality, one-on-one with me, TribLIVE Radio. Our first day doing 2 hours, 3 to 5. And boy, do we get a great day to come back as CM Punk is dominating the news. We are happy to be joined right now, former WWE referee for more than 20 years. And then he decided to go into the wonderful world of broadcasting. You can hear him co-hosting Right After Wrestling each and every week with Ardo Cal on The Score. You've heard of Little Jimmy. Well, we'll call him Big Jimmy, Mr. Jimmy Korderas. Jimmy, how are you?
Not bad, but maybe I prefer to be medium-sized Jimmy. I know I'm getting bigger, but...
Medium-sized Jimmy. Well, we'll take it. Jimmy, I think you know what I'm going to lead off with. I would just love your reaction and anything else you want to offer to the CM Punk entertainment that he brought us at the end of Raw.
Well, that's the key word right there. It's entertainment. I mean, sitting back and watching it live last night, and as it was unfolding, I guess I had pretty much the same reaction as everybody else. It was a little bit of shock and like everybody else who's a huge wrestling fan, like we are, just sat back and enjoyed it and thought it was one of the greatest, one of the best promos that's been delivered in I don't know how long. And whether you try to analyze it and overanalyze it, whether it was a shoot, whether it was a work shoot, whether it's a complete work, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter because here we are talking about it, and the interest is there. And, I thought it was fantastic.
Yeah, the interest is definitely there. It kind of reminds me of last summer, when they did the whole Nexus debut and they got everybody talking and people were comparing it, to the NWO and how it kind of brought back the nostalgia that everybody always wants, of the '90s and the Attitude Era. Jimmy, we've talked about this earlier here in this show, on this first hour. A lot of business language, the fourth wall, and a lot of names being tossed out like John Laurinaitis. Things that the average fan who just consumes the 2-hour product on TV and that's that, doesn't seek out your show, my show, or any other shows, doesn't really seek out the dirt sheets or the websites. They were probably very confused, and it's been a hot topic recently. Vince McMahon's relationship with the internet or lack thereof, and Zack Ryder's been in the front of that with the use of him or the lack thereof of his use. How surprised, or what are your thoughts on Punk's promo being so behind the scenes, and like I said, probably very confusing to a lot of that audience?
That's the thing we talked about last night. Excuse me, on our show. Maybe the so-called, I guess this is the new term that they're bringing out, the 10%ers.
Right.
Is that what we're called now?
Yeah, we're part of the 10%ers.
Yeah, we're part of the 10%ers. I guess the other 90%, the vast majority of them would probably be wondering, like you said, who is John Laurinaitis and why is he mentioning? And nobody knows that he's the head of talent relations or anything like that. I think part of it might have to do with, and again I'm just speculating here, is that the WWE is such a global brand, it's such a big audience, and they've been catering to that so-called PG audience and the casual fan for so long. And there has been, I guess the 10%ers have been feeling a little alienated. Maybe it was an attempt to, cater to them a little bit and give them a little something, and that way, more or less, the WWE would be catering to 100% of their total audience. I don't know. Maybe that's just something they're thinking about, or maybe it was just another one of those, let him go out there and vent and get it over with, and he won't be here much longer. We don't even know how long he's going to be sticking around. Is he going to really disappear after the Money in the Bank? Is he just going to take a break? There's so many questions right now, but the best part about it, again, is that interest is there, and people are talking about it. Now there's, I think, renewed interest in the pay-per-view, because going into it, you would think that, all right, CM Punk's not going to leave with the title. He's not going to leave. He's not going to win, or maybe he does win and somebody cashes in Money in the Bank, and you're thinking all that stuff. Now it becomes a little more intriguing because you're curious to see what this loose cannon's going to do at the pay-per-view.
Totally. Now, Jimmy, one thing something that you have that is a great accomplishment, obviously, is all of your years, in the pinstripes with the WWE, obviously formerly the WWF. If you can, we've seen these things happen before. Joey Styles, always comes to mind, and I was just reading his tweets here a minute ago. And Bret Hart, Shawn Michaels, a lot of these promos were done in the past. Obviously, more so in the '90s. From a referee's perspective, from somebody who, let me try to phrase this. How much in the know is everybody else? If it's slotted that, okay, this guy is going to go and he's going to do this shoot promo in this case where it's not very scripted or probably not scripted at all. The referee in the ring, I don't recall who it was last night at the end of the Cena match, but what's the perspective from the referee? What information, if you can help us here, what information do they have? Do they just have any time? What is the perspective from everybody else that's out there? If you understand that.
Probably. Actually, that was Chad Patton in the ring last night. He probably didn't know what was coming. He probably knew that CM Punk was going to take the microphone at the end of the night and cut a promo. Whether he knew what was going to be said and what eventually was said, I doubt very highly, and he was probably as shocked as everybody else. As far as Punk's promo with everybody else in the back, I would think that it was a very, very limited number of people that would know exactly where Punk was going to go and what direction he was going to take with this thing. And being there before and seeing the whole thing with that night that Paul Heyman on SmackDown did his whole shoot promo with Vince in the ring.
Right.
That was Vince basically telling Paul, go out there and shoot from the hip. Just say what you want to say. So I think a lot of that was incorporated last night. I think they told Punk to just go out there and say what you want to say. Now, whether, opinion-wise, whether he crossed the line or not, that's debatable. But, again, it's hard to determine how much was actually known ahead of time.
Right. Well, it's certainly something we'll be watching, and there's only so many things you can say about it other than, as we started with this, it's entertaining. Something I want to move on to, though, again, keeping with, a great tool that you have at your disposal, and information is all your time there. And I thought something that might be interesting that people would be interested to know, having you on the line, is that maybe if you could, in the best possible, in a hypothetical, walk us through a day in the life of a WWE referee on a Monday or Tuesday for SmackDown taping. Everybody hears about the travel and the grind, and you show up. You got to show up early, and you have this and that. And I've gotten to see, witness personally through more work that I've gotten to do with independent wrestling promotions. I see referees have different. Each referee is kind of different. I've seen some guys that are very hands-on with the layout of the show. I see other guys that are kind of by choice or by the promotion's choice or by their own choice. They're kind of left more in the dark and they kind of wing it. Can you walk us through kind of what the closest thing to a typical day in the life as a WWE referee?
Yeah, well, like you said, it varied from person to person. But for me personally, usually what would happen is we would do. I was at the end. There was basically I was a SmackDown brand specific referee who occasionally showed up on Raw when we had the super shows or whatever. Mm-hmm. But it was usually house shows from Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and then doing TV on Tuesday. And you'd obviously either fly or drive in between the towns. And once you got to TV on whether it was Monday or Tuesday, it didn't matter. Usually you had to be at the building. For talent, it was 1 or 2 o'clock, but a lot of referees did double duty, like, for example, ring crew. Like, that's part of what I did also when I was there. I was part of the ring crew, and let's see, depending on the building, you would be there at 10, 11 o'clock, and whenever the crew would get the lights up off the ground, you'd be in there, you'd be setting up the ring and trying to get everything set up so that everything would be ready to go for showtime, and then you'd do other stuff and then go over matches and sometimes give your input, and sometimes it was accepted, and sometimes it was not, and basically that was it. And then it was showtime, and afterwards you tear everything down, and you're off to the next town.
There you go. And just like that, 22 years flew by.
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, most of my adult life was spent, on the road and with the WWE, and no complaints. I mean, the travel, obviously, you've heard horror stories, and it can get rough, but again, I get no complaints. What can I say? It was living the dream.
Right. Now, in that living the dream, is there? I'm sure there are, and if you can pick one that easily comes to mind that you like, a crazy moment. There's always stories, but more or less in the ring, I guess. You're on live TV, you're flying with it. A crazy story that sticks out, or something that has got to go into the memory vault at all times of great stories.
Wow. There's so many. It's so hard to pick one. I mean, I've been fortunate enough to be there for some of the greatest. One thing that just popped into my mind, I don't know why this did, but there was the ending of an episode of Raw years ago where Stone Cold was stunning everybody in sight. I mean, the entire locker room emptied. He stunned everybody from talent to agents to every referee to Tony Chimmel to, excuse me again, little frog in the throat there. But, getting stunned by Stone Cold and that sort of stuff, that stuff stands out in your mind is kind of like, wow, that was cool. I got stunned by Stone Cold. I don't know why, stuff like that sticks out as cool stuff. Getting kicked in the head by The Undertaker, cool. It's really weird.
Something else I want to get into here, Jimmy, just before, and this actually was something that a fan had sent an email the other day. I don't have his name in front of me, but he thought it would be an interesting topic to bring up, a question, and I think it is. We're seeing more and more now, Sin Cara being the first kind of leading this pack of some international guys coming in, obviously, or I guess Alberto Del Rio, obviously there, prior to, but Sin Cara coming in, he's been a topic amongst a lot of fans and adapting to the WWE style, adapting to working, with the guys in the WWE. As a referee, the email was curious. What is it? What's the level of difficulty, or how does it change doing your job when you have somebody in the ring that is new to the system like Sin Cara and there's a language barrier? What is that like?
It causes a little bit of a problem, especially if there's a language barrier. I mean, I'm not very fluent in Spanish, for example. I don't know Spanish at all, and I know back in I wasn't obviously not there for Sin Cara, but back when Tajiri was with the WWE, he spoke very limited English, but he knew enough wrestling lingo, for lack of a better term, where you can get by communicating with them. Now, I don't know Sin Cara's how much English he does know, but knowing Spanish and knowing at least a little bit that he would understand, just the basics would be very helpful. And, I believe that one of the officials that referees most of his matches, Rod, they call him Spider, I think he's very fluent in Spanish, and I think that's one of the reasons why he's in there with him a lot.
We really appreciate having you on again. Make sure we get all the plugs here for you. You can follow Jimmy on Twitter. It's Jimmy Korderas, JimmyKorderas. You can listen to him again on Right After Wrestling. Jimmy, I know you can listen. What's the website to listen to you guys if you're not on the radio? If you're not near radio.
Yeah, if you don't have Sirius radio, it's thescore.com/radio, and you can go there and you can listen to our podcast there. We're also on iTunes. And I'm also on Facebook, so if anybody wants to hit me up on Facebook, you can hit me up there. I try to answer as many as I can. Unfortunately, I'm not very a frequent visitor of my Facebook, but I'll try and get to everybody when I eventually get there. Well,
you've always been good at tweeting me back, and I appreciate it. Jimmy, thank you for the time. We'll hope to do it again.
No, I appreciate the time. Thank you very much.